It's good, yeah. That's good. Is it 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Dear friends and students, oh, second. Okay, this live is good. Dear friends and students, I have my dear friend, my mentor, Kasturi Iyer sir, and 5 years back, we both started this journey together. Being a vegan, and ever since he has been so passionate, doing a lot of research, and reading so many books, and he has brought like at least 50 books here. Wow. And he's an IIT graduate from IIT Kanpur, and very, very analytical and research minded. And he has been doing a lot of research on vegan diet and has been following, and he has taken it to the next level, and he has been very educating himself all the time. Every time I meet him, he comes up with all this new studies and all that. So it's been very, very inspiring for me in my journey of being a vegan. So I really, whatever I enjoy and I cherish, I really want all my students and friends and families to, experience the same benefits of being a vegan. So that's why I got this opportunity. He was visiting here, Washington, D.C., and I said immediately, it'll be great if you can do a quick talk on veganism and vegan diet and the benefits of being a vegan, how great it is. So I'm really thankful to you, sir, for doing this lecture here at our IACM studios. And I know many of you are watching. I can already see on a lot of people on YouTube. I have shared the live stream, and people can watch. And I think it allows you to ask questions on the chat window, and I can tell him, or I'm opposite to the camera. I can see those chats and I can tell him. But hold on to your questions. So once again, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm Kasturi Iyer, and in fact, my journey on this path started actually with Raman Kalyan. I mean, Kalyan Raman. What happened was that he was visiting me, and he was talking about one of the documentaries on YouTube, on Netflix. I think it was called Food Inc., if I'm not mistaken. And being curious, I watched it. And what happens is that on Netflix, once you watch one documentary, it suggests you other documentaries. And so one of the documentaries I saw was something called Fox Over Knives. I watched it, and that kind of resonated with me. Everything that it said in that documentary resonated with me. There were three doctors who talked in that documentary. I immediately got and went and bought the books. It arrived in a couple of days. I read it cover to cover overnight, and the next day to new ideas and check them out. So let me jump right into this topic. So Raman introduced this as go vegan and be green. So I want to add to that. So what I follow is it's definitely vegan, but it's more than that, and it's slightly different. So veganism says that you should not eat or consume anything which is animal based. Nothing. You can't wear leather shoes, leather belts. You can't wear leather jackets. You cannot actually use soaps made out of animal origin material, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you cannot eat any food items which originate from animals. Eggs, meat, chicken, dairy, pizza, Indian sweets, lots of things. So that's definitely a very commendable goal, and the reason for that, we'll go into it shortly. So what I follow is slightly different. It's actually, I would say, one step better than that. It's called Whole Food Plant-Based Diet. It goes by the acronym WFPB. If you Google WFPB, you will see that. So as the name says, it is plant-based. You only eat things which are grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, and things of that nature. Anything that comes from the plant kingdom. Also, it has to be whole food. That means it should be as little processed as possible, and we'll get into that detail later. Now, there are three reasons for doing this. People who go vegan, they primarily do it for animal compassion. They do it from animal compassion. In other words, they don't want to hurt animals. And let's briefly dig into it. Obviously, as you know, meat and chicken and those things, they require that animals be killed, and they're killed in a very horrific way. Even production of eggs requires that animals be subjected to producing 10 times the eggs that they would normally produce in nature, and that's very stressful for them. Also, in the production of eggs, male chicks, they're actually killed because male chicks are not useful to the egg production industry. So on and so forth. In fact, if you Google animal cruelty in dairy or animal cruelty in livestock, you will get plenty of examples and proof of why this is so. For example, in dairy, whether it's in America or India or any of the advanced countries, the dairy industry is very cruel to animals. Animals, cows, are confined in short spaces. They're made to eat. They're fed copious amounts of food so that the milk they produce is really 10 times what they would normally produce in nature. And these cows are not able to actually, carry that milk, and it's very painful to them. And not only that, but these cows, they're constantly kept. You see, in nature, cows give milk for their calf. Once the calf grows up, they stop producing milk. Then they become pregnant again. It takes some time. And then again, so there's a gap of many months between their stopping milk and then becoming pregnant again. Obviously, in the dairy industry, they cannot allow this to happen. So as soon as they give birth to a calf, they are immediately artificially inseminated. So essentially, they are constantly pregnant so that they keep on giving milk for 4 to 5 years. At which time the milk production goes down, and you know what happens next, right? These cows are essentially slaughtered because they are no longer useful. So for people who go vegan, the rationale is that by drinking milk or milk products, I'm actually responsible for killing of animals, and they don't want anything to do with that. So that's one of the reasons. And there are many other reasons. You can Google yourself. Another reason for going vegan or plant-based is environmental protection. In production of dairy and meat products, humongous amounts of water, fertilizer is used. The manure produced by these animals, these animals are fed not grass. You cannot grow enough grass in the world. If you use all the agricultural land in the world, you cannot produce enough grass to feed these animals. They are fed all kinds of other items, including animal flesh that cannot be used for humans. So their manure is not really it's very toxic manure. And this manure actually poisons a lot of the lands. If you look at many of the agriculture states like Arkansas, which produces a lot of eggs and chicken, they have hundreds of thousands of acres which are spoiled because they used to store manure. So animal husbandry is responsible for a lot of ecological damage. It is, it's a global scale. So by going vegan or plant-based, you're going to be being kind to the environment. So that's one of the reasons. But a lot of people they really don't care that much about the environment. And for them, animal compassion, they don't see these animals being tortured in front of them every day. It's somewhere out there. So really, they seem not to care about it. I mean, that's been my experience. Some people, they're really very passionate about it, but a lot of people really don't care. So let me come to the third reason why you should eat like this. It is for your own health. This is for your own health. So why is it so? You see, if you look at populations in, let's say, developed countries, or affluent or semi-affluent people in even less developed countries, they all suffer at some point in their life from the major diseases like diabetes, stroke, heart disease, cancer, obesity. And all these diseases can be traced to eating animal-based foods. If you switch from animal-based foods to plant-based foods, I can guarantee you that you will get rid of many of these diseases and you will reduce your chances of getting these diseases in the future. Why do I say that? So obviously I'm not a researcher, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. But I have read the work of many others who have done this kind of research and who have publicized it. And I'm just going to go through all the proofs that I have, and it's based on those people. I've been eating like this for almost now 5 years. On February 4, I completed 5 years, and I was able to stay with it because I was so convinced that this is the way to eat. And in these 5 years, I have spent a lot of effort to try to read the published research, published articles on this topic, not only articles which speak for it, but also articles which speak against it. Articles by industry groups and others who say, geez, dairy is not that bad, etc. So I've seen both sides of the argument, and I'm convinced that the plant-based way is way to go. Okay. So let's take diabetes, right? So diabetes is, I think if you look at statistics, probably 20% of the American population is diabetic by age 60. There are many more people who are pre-diabetic, in other words, their sugar is high. And diabetes is a very debilitating disease. It obviously, causes problems for you, and also it causes heart attack, it causes nerve damage, it causes something called retinopathy. In other words, the arteries in your eyes, they become clogged and you become blind. So diabetes is a kind of conglomerate of many diseases. And today the only treatment, so-called treatment for diabetes, is that you get tablets that essentially pump insulin into your body, or if it becomes worse, you get insulin injections. And for most people, it just keeps progressing, and their quality of life is very poor, and a lot of them die very young, and it's very expensive disease. In fact, in America, a typical diabetic patient spends something like $30,000 a year on medications and doctor visits, etc. Obviously, they don't pay for it. The insurance companies pay for it. But, it's expense all the same, And so now, diabetes, I have many research papers that I have read, and many of these doctors who have read were saying that, look, if you have type 2 diabetes is where your body produces insulin, but it's not adequate to, to treat your sugar in your blood. If you have type 2 diabetes, 80% of in 80% of the cases, you can easily reverse this disease just by switching your diet. And what do you have to do? You have to stop all meat, eggs, and eating all those things. You have to give up all dairy in all its form. Milk, yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, butter, cream cheese, any fruits, any sweets which are made with, most of the Indian sweets which are made with what is called khoya. Khoya is the milk solids, and all kinds of biscuits. So adhere to a low fat diet. I'm not saying zero fat diet, a low fat diet. So if you follow this kind of a food, it'll actually, 80% of cases, you can actually cure diabetes. And those who are pre-diabetes, that diabetes can be reduced. And I'm telling from personal experience with people who have followed this advice and cases reported by the doctors. So this is very true. Now, the beauty of this kind of diet is, it is the same diet which is good for a multitude of diseases. Heart disease. Now there are cases where you have, a defective valve in your heart, or there's a hole in your heart, and there are certain cases which cannot be obviously be cured by, diet. You need surgery, or you need, in some cases, heart transplant, etc. But I think 95% of the cases of heart disease can be cured by just merely diet. Heart attack, you can completely prevent it by changing your diet. You don't even have to actually do a lot of exercise. You can automatically, if you follow this diet, and let's say you do moderate walking, you can reverse your heart disease. In fact, there's a doctor called Dr. Dean Ornish. I think in 1969 or 1989, he took this group of people, and he precisely did that. He took people whose heart disease was so severe, the arteries were so blocked, that they could barely walk 100 feet without getting out of breath and having to stop. He put them on a low-fat vegan diet, which is a plant-based diet. He asked them to walk 20 to 30 minutes a day, and then he asked them to do meditation to essentially relax. And I think within a year or two, he was able to, all these people, they were able to actually run and resume normal life. So he published this research in a prestigious medical journal. Similarly, there's another doctor, and I'll show the book here. He published this book called Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. He's a doctor, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He is a doctor in the famed Cleveland Institute. Cleveland Institute is famous for, I think, heart surgery in USA. Now, he was not a heart surgeon in the Cleveland Institute. He was working on the breast cancer task force. But he was a very observant person. So he realized that, he was not able to actually cure breast cancer patients. All he could do was prolong their lives. And then he stumbled into this treatment, which is again the same plant-based treatment for heart disease. So now he talked to the heart cardiology department. He told them, send me your most serious cases where you have given up hope. So they sent him about 20 patients where the doctor said, your heart disease is so advanced that there's nothing we can do for you. You just go home to die. This is about like 25 years, 30 years back. He put them on this kind of a diet. In addition to that, he did something else. He told them, no oil. You cannot use any oil in cooking. You cannot use any oil in your salads or anything. Zero oil. These people, out of the 20 people, 19 of them, they followed this advice to the letter because they had nothing to lose. They were at the kind of end of their tether. The next step was to die. And all of them, their heart disease went away. They had no further symptoms of heart disease. Because you see, what happens is that if you have a heart attack, and then let's say they put a stent in it and they do a bypass surgery, etc. Even after that, you will continue to have some symptoms, whether you have angina, which is the chest pain, or your arteries may clog up again, or you may even have another heart attack. This happens in the next 10 years, most of the cases. But in the cases of these 19 people, none of that happened. They all led a normal life, and people who are condemned to die within 6 months or 1 year, they live typically 20, 25 years. It's all outlined in this book. Now, what happened to the one person who dropped out of the study? So Dr. Esselstyn followed him. He couldn't keep up with the diet, so he just dropped off. So he had heart attacks and etc. So again, same thing, right? So now, in addition to diet, I introduced one more concept, which is called no oil. Why is that so? You see, for the heart attack patients and heart disease patients, and for everybody, those of us who don't have it yet, oil is the enemy. Oil is not good for you. Oil has no nutrition. Oil actually, as soon as you consume anything oily, whether it's food or you drink oil, as some people do, it immediately damages the endothelium. Endothelium is the inside layer, inside your arteries. It damages that. And so your arteries become stiff. Your blood, it raises your blood pressure. And this actually contributes to your heart disease. So one of the treatments for heart disease, is actually probably the most important treatment, is to get rid of oil from your diet completely. In fact, I have here the example of a doctor. His name is Dr. Bimal Chhajjar, and he practices in India, and he has 20 clinics all over India where he treats people who have heart disease. Their arteries are blocked, and they have been told that they have to get operated upon to do bypass surgery. And these people cannot afford the bypass surgery, so many of them come to him. So he tells them two things. He puts them on a no oil diet, completely eliminate oil. And second, he does a treatment which is actually FDA approved treatment, which is, you can read about it on his website, which essentially pumps the blood using external stimulation, and that seems to reduce the blockages. So he has proof that using this method, he's been able to reduce heart blockages in patients. And the proof is, after they do the CAT scan, they can see that the blockages have been reduced, right? So the two major scourges. So the other thing is, if you look at the blood pressure profile of most people in America, for example, their blood pressure is something like 100 over 80 when they are born, maybe sometimes less. But as they progress in years, their blood pressure invariably rises. And by the 40s, sometimes even by the 40s, they're up to 130, 140 or 110, etc. And now, as you know, blood pressure is very dangerous. It causes all kinds of problems. Not only that, your heart has to pump harder to push blood through your body. Now, those who switch from an animal-based or dairy-based diet to a non plant-based diet, in most cases their blood pressure normalizes within a few months. In fact, my blood pressure is like a teenager's blood pressure. When I went to one of the online calculators to calculate what my blood pressure should be, for my age, they didn't even give me an option to enter a low blood pressure. So blood pressure is another disease that can be easily reversed by this. So now let's come back to what this plant-based diet means, right? So it means that you should be able to eat all kinds of grains, and I'll come to that. There is some different opinions in this too. So you can eat rice, but when you eat rice, you should eat brown rice, not white rice. You can eat quinoa, you can eat wheat. Again, wheat, when you eat it, you should eat the whole wheat products. And so these things are okay to eat. You should eat lots of vegetables of different colors, different varieties. Vegetables should be eaten in plenty. You should eat lots of fruits. I mean, for a lot of people who really don't eat a lot of fruits, it's very difficult to imagine eating 5 to 6 to 7 servings of fruit a day. It's very difficult. I mean, I talk to a lot of people and they say, I don't think I can eat more than 1 fruit a day. That's not right. You should be able to eat 6 to 7, 5 to 6. I mean, you should eat enough fruit that at the end of the day you're fed up of eating fruits, and you should eat a variety of fruits. Okay. So this covers the kind of fruits you should eat. Now, there's one more component of diet which is very important, which is that your diet should be high in fiber. You see, there was a doctor called Dr. Dennis Burkett. He was the head of medical service in Kenya in the 1950s. He was a Britisher who headed the Kenyan health service in the 1950s after, I think it's probably during the time Kenya was still under the British rule. And surprisingly, most Africans in Kenya and other countries, in African countries, most of them were actually vegan. And how can that be? Because they all ate plant-based foods. They ate meat very rarely. They were not big consumers of, or actually they had no fondness for dairy. So by heritage, they were vegan actually. And they were also whole food plant-based diets. So Dr. Dennis Burkett reported that in the 15 years he served there, he rarely saw any cases of cancer. He didn't see any cases of cancer. The only cases of cancer he saw were among rich Africans who actually ate a meat-based diet, And so fiber is very important. Most vegetarians do not get enough fiber, and I'll explain why. And obviously most people who eat a animal-based diet, meat, etc., they probably get zero fiber. And this lack of fiber contributes to lots of diseases. Diverticulitis, Crohn's disease. There are a lot of diseases, some of these diseases are so severe that you have to remove somebody's intestine, because of the disease. So if you consume high fiber diet, you will avoid these problems. So how does the high fiber diet help us? See, there are two kinds of fiber. One is soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. And I'll just address the insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber, obviously our body doesn't digest it. It goes into our intestine. And our intestine is full of all kinds of bacteria. So the bacteria in our intestine feeds on this fiber, and it produces other chemicals which are beneficial to us. Not only that, if you have high fiber diet, you are actually feeding the good gut bacteria. Your bacterial content, your microbiome, as they call it, will change to more beneficial bacteria. So eating a high fiber diet is very important. Okay. So now on that topic, let me jump to rice. You see, if you look at the nutrition label on rice, most of the white rice has zero fiber. Most of the rice used in idli, parboiled rice, etc., has zero fiber. So these, when you eat white rice or most of the idli, the fiber content is zero. Okay, so let's say you switch to brown rice. So brown rice has, it varies, some brown rices, they claim to have 4% fiber, some have 2%, 3%, it's all over the place. So I would say that even brown rice doesn't have enough fiber. Wheat is also kind of not very high in fiber. So all these foods are kind of low in fiber. So what you should do instead is eat a lot of what I call dal, pulses, pappu, and that will kind of make up for some of the lack of fiber. And for example, if you eat a cereal, you should focus on cereals which are high in fiber. Oats are high in fiber. You can add, for example, wheat bran to your cereal or oat bran, that is high in fiber. And there's even better solution than this, which is millets. So millets is a class of, I think, seeds which are very high in fiber. The fiber ranges from 8 to 12%. And I'll cover that topic next. So you should eat, essentially, as I mentioned, completely plant-based diet. It should be whole food. It should be high in fiber. You should avoid eating all oils. Okay? And so now let me go to the topic of millets, right? So many of you may have heard of this doctor. He's called the millet doctor of India. And in my view, he's a genuine scientist, completely self-taught. He's done a lot of research. He's an original researcher. He's not copied anything from anywhere. He's done actual research based on what he says. And he recommends what he calls Sri Dhanyalu. There are 5 millets he recommends, where the fiber content is from 8 to 16%. And if you actually get used to eating those millets, your fiber problem is solved. Okay? So now, I told you a lot of things you should not do. You should not eat Indian sweets. You should not eat fried bhajis. You should not eat fried samosas. You should not eat, you should not have oil. You should not have paneer. It looks like this is going to be a very boring life. And why should you do it? As I mentioned, the reason to do it, I already went over it: animal compassion, environmental protection, and more than that, your own health. But this kind of diet, it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be bland. It doesn't have to be something that, you have to eat. No, it is very, very tasty. In fact, there's a lot of, this trend towards eating like this is almost 20, 30 years. And during that time, a lot of people have spent a lot of effort experimenting and perfecting very delicious, tasty plant-based diets, and many of them are Indian. I mean, I eat like that, and many of the dishes I make, my non-vegan friends, they say they love it. So I can assure you that going this route, you're not going to deprive yourself of anything. Definitely you're going to deprive yourself of, paneer and other things that you're used to. But let me ask you, the person who smokes, the advice to him is to give up smoking. So his question is, what can I do which is like smoking? The answer is nothing. But then, how do people live without smoking? So you see the answer? It's the same answer. So let me give you another example, right? So when I first came to America, I was introduced to something called sour cream. So it was very, very delicious. It was like the yogurt I was used to in India. In fact, it was better than that. But what is the sour cream? So sour cream is actually milk with a very high cream content, which is made into yogurt. And as you can see, if you consume sour cream on a daily basis, within a few months you're going to weigh another 100 pounds. It is not very healthy, and you really, everybody knows you should not be eating it regularly. So the answer is the same. What can replace sour cream? Nothing. I mean, so it doesn't mean I have to give up sour cream. Yes, if you want to have good health and you don't not have. Similarly, there are certain tastes that you're used to, you'll have to give up. But your taste buds are such that within 3 to 4 weeks, you will get used to these new tastes, and you won't even miss the old tastes. I'm not just talking from my experience. I'm talking from experience of a lot of people who have done this. Okay. So at this point, let me stop and see if there are any questions. I can take some questions. Yeah. So I think I want to give you some resources that you can consult yourself, which is very important because there are what I told you is just touching the surface. There's a lot of literature available. There's a lot of YouTube videos available, and you need to watch a lot of it to be convinced that this is the way to go. And it'll take you some time to kind of think it over. And and one thing is, I told you the way to live. Does it mean that you have to do it in one day? No, you don't have to. I don't think you can do it. Most people can't do it. So let's assume that there are 100 habits that you should aim for, which are the good habits. It'll take you time. Take the first habit, do it. It may take you 1 week, 1 day, maybe 2 weeks, 1 month. Once you perfect it, once it becomes a habit, go on to the next one. You're not aiming for perfection. You're not aiming for, a quick fixes. This is the way you should live the rest of your life. So you make small changes. As you make small changes, you will see differences in your life. You will see that, for example, if you give up yogurt at night or drinking milk with your cereal in the morning, that your stomach is not bloated. So you will immediately get a good feedback, and that will encourage you to try the next step. It may take you 2 years to actually go from point A to point B, So remember, it's slow and steady. You may backslide, it happens, we're all human. Our taste buds are very strong. Our habits that we learned over a lifetime are very difficult to get rid of. But if you're determined, if you're convinced, then I'm sure, like in my case, that you'll be able to do it. Just step by step, do it. Okay? I want to give you 3 or 4 resources that you can consult. There is a website, it's called nutritionfacts.org. Very simple, nutrition, FACTS, plural.org. This is a website, it is a non-profit organization. It was started by this Dr. Michael Greger. They publish every day, most days, a video highlighting the health benefit of one of the ingredients or something on health topic. The video is generally 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes long. And at the end of the video, they give you links to the published research. So if you're kind of suspicious or you want to check out further, you can click on the published research and you can read actually the research. Not only that, once you click on one video, you get references to other similar videos. And users of this website, they post very intelligent comments. I go to this website every day, and every day I learn something new that I put into practice in my life. For example, one of the things I learned, or rather I had to learn it from this website, and many of you may already know it, that turmeric is very good for inflammation. Turmeric, not the curcumin that is extracted and sold in a capsule, not curcumin. It is the actual turmeric. So after reading a bunch of these videos, I started consuming turmeric with water. I take 1 teaspoon of turmeric in the morning, and it has benefited me tremendously. So nutritionfacts.org is one website you should go. The other one is a website called Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. The website is pcrm.org. They have a lot of resources about recipes, posters, booklets, news, etc. Very, very useful. You want to introduce your children to veganism, they have amazing recipes for children. Okay. Another website I would mention is nutritionstudies.org. Very simple. nutritionstudies.org. It's actually started by Professor Emeritus Dr. Colin Campbell of Cornell University. He did research for 50 years in nutrition. So these are the 3 things you can get started. And of course, watch the documentary Forks Over Knives on Netflix. Okay? So I think we can go to some questions if you have some questions.
Yeah. So I think we will take some questions, but it is so amazing to see all your books all over here and here. And people who are watching, they can post their questions on the chat window. If not, we can always wrap up, and I'm sure I will provide links if somebody is interested to reach out to you directly.
Right.
They can reach out to you with their questions. But it's such a very educative experience to learn about so much, and I'm really thankful for taking time off from your busy schedule and give this wonderful lecture. And I'm sure there will be students who always go back and watch, because this is being live streamed.
Right.
So they can always go back and watch. And thank you, sir, so much. Pleasure to have you here at our IACM studios. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rahman.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this live stream, and WhatsApp people, if they want to call, that's okay.
Yeah.
Then if not, we can always.
Start to practice more.
No, it's really nice. So beautiful.